Hey, Jeremy Bennett, Sportskeeda Wrestling top story of the day. Did you hear any big wrestling news yesterday?
Yeah, maybe right before we got off the air,
Oh boy, we're gonna get into
the
all of it.
bombshell dropped.
Yeah, we're gonna get into all of it. The latest on the WWE releases that came out yesterday. What led to them? What is going on with the talent that was released? And how is the wrestling world reacting to this very bummer news of a story? It's your Sportskeeda Wrestling top story of the day.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. What's going on, everybody? Go ahead and hammer that like button. Let us know what you think here. That is Jeremy Bennett. I'm Kev Kelm. Latest, we're going to get into it on the WWE releases. Obviously, this story coming out, 17 talents released by WWE. Notable names including Karrion Kross, Keith Lee, Nia Jax, and Eva Marie, just among a few of the names cut by WWE. We went in depth on this in terms of every individual name. We'll do some questions and answers with you guys later on in today's show. But check out last night's Inside Cradle. We ran down the entire list of what every single player got to do while they were in WWE and what their future could be and what the market's going to be like. We'll get into all those different things. We'll do some Q&A at the end of today's top story as well. Jeremy, what is the latest here that you want to jump into? Because there's a lot of news on this that came out last night.
Oh boy, there is a lot. But Fightful Select did drop something late last night in regards to the numerous WWE cuts related to vaccination status. There were actually 18 total talents, even though this article said 17. There were 18 that were released, and the New York Post quickly revealed that some were in part due to their vaccination status. Fightful confirmed that with WWE sources that at least 5 of the released talents were openly unvaccinated, including some very surprising names. It was also mentioned that this wasn't the exclusive reason and only reason for the firings, but it should be noted that releasing talent for not being vaccinated is completely legal. And it would have restricted many of the venues that performers could compete in and travel availability. So obviously, being 100% vaccinated is a key thing for WWE as they tour across the nation. The rumors of these releases had been rampant within the industry for weeks, many expecting the cuts last week, but it never happened. There were, of course, several office cuts that happened the day before, and those were said to be completely unrelated to a vaccination status. But there are some rumblings that there were vaccinated-related talent cuts that were going to be on the way in WWE, and sure enough, at least 5 of those 18 were part of that.
So what do you think here? This is a bummer story. A lot of people are upset about this. Budget cuts is the official reason that John Laurinaitis, the head of talent relations, reportedly sent out to talent in a statement yesterday. Obviously, I don't know if fans are really buying that or even if the talent's buying that.
That's always the excuse.
At least it's been an excuse for the past couple of years. You used to be, creative is nothing for you, pal, right? We used to hear that line. So now the line is different, and then the timing of it is just odd because this comes out the same day WWE reports their quarterly business report that they have to do with their investors. Some shakeups beyond just talent. We saw 4 different executives leave the company or get cut. We don't know. There's been some reporting that says people were fired or quit, and none of that is known. We don't know with the executives whether or not they were let go or they left the company or they were just part of budget cuts. But there were several people that were left. The senior vice president of brand marketing for WWE is out of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different people there. That news is up now at sportskeeda.com. So it's not just wrestlers. We saw WWE make massive cuts to their digital division in the last year and a half. So this isn't just wrestlers. 78 wrestlers got let go, but there's a lot of people in WWE that weren't wrestlers that got let go as well. So it's an interesting thing is WWE is trying to run the slimmest ship they can. We've also learned from multiple sources. This isn't just one individual source. There's multiple sources now reporting, including Wrestling Observer. WWE's youth movement that we saw affect NXT's reboot is now across the board. And that certain notes have been handed down for WWE recruiting future talent, specifically age. Age being a massive factor for all of these releases. and WWE looking at their youth movement as a way to get younger fans in their teen years to be more of lifelong fans who can see relatable talent that they see on the screen, someone that they can connect with. That is worth noting. WWE has a lot of top stars, but they're all north of 30. So I know that seems weird. As a guy in the 30, Jeremy, I know you're not too far away from my age.
I'm 42. So.
Yeah, you like seeing a 40-year-old guy get in there and go a little bit. Maybe somebody who's 15 doesn't relate to that. You gotta be hip and cool with the kids.
There's an odd correlation here of age and just the creative not being able to figure, basically to put it sweetly, creative not being able to pull their head out of their ass on these guys. Like, they had gold with Karrion Kross in NXT, screwed him on the main roster. They had gold with Keith Lee on NXT, screwed him on the main roster. These are both guys that are over, they're like 36, 38. They're in their upper 30s now. Taya Valkyrie's in her upper 30s as well. That was one of the biggest surprises in the NXT division because she was poised to be one of the leaders of the women there. And now she, I think if I read correctly on a tweet last night, I think she wrestled a total of 6 matches in NXT, which was, ridiculous. I think Harry Smith is a little older as well. We didn't even see him. He got signed. We saw him maybe at the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame ceremony for Bulldog. He never even got into NXT or WWE. He is mid 30s, 36. And then, I think Mia Yim might be a little older. Then there's some other surprises like, Scarlett Bordeaux, but I guess maybe that she just goes with Karrion Kross at that point. Trey Baxter is a tremendous talent. I don't know what the deal is with that. Jessica Maya, she was in there with Taya Valkyrie and Robert Stone as well in that little group. B-Fab, another big surprise. I mean, what the hell? I mean, they just called up Hit Row. I think I saw a tweet that said that B-Fab had just signed a new deal.
That was Brian Alvarez, the Wrestling Observer. B-Fab had, a lot of people, if you get called up to NXT, they roll over your contract and do a new deal, and you have to sign it. So does that change her release window, her non-compete? Is she now under a 90-day non-compete? It's up in the air. There's a lot of different things that are up in the air. You have some people saying that I'm not under a 90-day compete. I am under a 90-day compete. Oni Lorcan is under a 90-day non-compete clause, even though he was with NXT. Yeah. So he's one of these guys who was released. The full list of people released up now at www.sportskeeda.com. Go check that out. It's a bummer, but there's a lot of talent hitting the market here.
Yeah, I mean, Trey Baxter already signed for a GCW event coming up here.
Good for him.
So
good for him. Get out there and make some money, dude.
That got announced last night, literally right away. Lauderdale is on it with GCW. That promotion's on fire right now. So.
About this vaccination thing, let's follow up on this because I know there's a lot of stories coming out here with this news. Hunter Iggy says, Sportskeeda Wrestling, what is your thoughts on the 5 WWE superstars released because of vaccine? Here's the thing. We don't know who those people are, all right? It's worth noting that I think you guys get out there and you hear people say something on Twitter and that's it. That's the news, right? That isn't news, all right? That isn't news. That isn't verified. We do have the New York Post reporting it, but they didn't say who the superstars were. There were 17 people released. You had Graham Malik reportedly a month ago asking for his release, right?
Yeah.
And you had Oni Lorcan said, my release was granted. So the wording there makes you think he wanted out or asked to be let go. It's not clear. We had somebody who's in the executive branch of WWE, who their chief financial officer, Kellen, I believe is her first name. Callan is her last name, right? Excuse me for that. She changed. They made a change. It isn't clear if she left the company or she's doing something else or they let her go. But she was in the statement, so we're like what's going on here? It isn't clear.
The numbers just dropped for the new CFO that got named already. Woo. 850,000 base, million bonus, and a $5 million in stock.
That's a lot of money.
Good start. Good start.
A lot of money here.
Should Triple H go and start his own federation at this point?
Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows?
All his guys are cut, so he could probably just go out and start a new federation and compete with Vince right now, right?
Yeah. Get your questions ready. We will do Freestyle Friday before we're done here today. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And of course, other people just sounding off their rage about this. They just don't get it. They don't understand it here. About that vaccination thing, too. Following up on that, I'm getting more information in front of me as it speaks. So Nia Jax goes on the record here. Nia Jax is a lot of people have opened up about this. They've gone on Twitter. They've said their piece about this different thing. But Nia Jax today on social media put out a pretty harsh response less than 24 hours after release. Pretty harsh response, you know? She goes, I usually keep my personal life private, but yesterday's reports leave me with no option but to clarify matters. I recently took a short leave of absence from WWE for a mental health break. I've been working through so much more than I can share, and so I took some time, the full support of the company, to take care of myself. Well, it's nice WWE gave her that time, right? Yeah. Earlier this week, after WWE sent me my schedule to return to the ring for November 15th show, I asked for an extension for my mental health break, feeling that I needed more time, hoping I would have the ongoing support of the company I've given all of my past 7 years to. I did not receive a response. The next I heard, I was being released. My vaccination status was never mentioned. I wasn't given any choices or options. It breaks my heart to so abruptly let go without consultation while dealing with so much privately. I love my career at WWE. I love the men and women I worked with, and I am going to need time to process this huge loss. I appreciate those people who have shown understanding and compassion during an incredibly difficult time. The last time we saw Nia Jax on TV, she had her arm broken by Shayna Baszler on Monday Night Raw and near the end of September. So a lot of people on social media were just saying, oh, Nia Jax was putting out stuff where she didn't want the vaccine. She put that out on Instagram, or she said something in an Instagram story, and everyone just runs. Everyone's a little detective, right? And then this New York Post story comes out, and mind you, the New York Post story never said anyone's name. So everyone just speculates, and we can speculate. It's fine, right? But that isn't news. There's a difference. You know what I mean? There's a difference on your plate between a French fry and a hamburger. You know they're on the same plate and they're in the same discussion, but you know one is different from the other, and you know how they complement one another. But you can mash them together, but that's just a French fry mashed into a cheeseburger. We know what's going on here.
Yeah, and just to hear that, is kind of sad just because it just makes it seem like WWE doesn't care. And, you almost thought Nia was kind of one of those untouchable people because, her ties with The Rock and things like that. And a lot of people wondered, figured that she would be kind of one of those untouchables. So that was that one was probably one of the more shocking ones. But, just hearing that though, not a good look on WWE, is it?
No, but it's also a sense of who knew that? Like, who knew why she was away from the ring? Was that a part of the decision? That isn't clear. That isn't clear whether or not that was part of the decision.
Yeah, I mean, letting someone go to work on mental health is even a worse look if you're letting them go because of that too. I mean, but
we have some questions here. Save your questions. Don't worry. If you're watching with us, we'll get your questions here in just a little bit.
Freestyle Friday, baby.
Freestyle Friday. We'll burn through all your questions. So have them if you don't have them here. And a lot of people with different takes here. And it's a testy situation. WWE was trending, and a lot of people thought in a bad way yesterday with all this news, and a lot of fans are upset. But WrestleMania tickets are still going to go on sale next week.
Yeah, the show is going to go on regardless. So I don't know.
Yeah, and it's being noted here. Wrestling Observer reporting that 4 to 5 wrestlers were cut due to vaccine status, meaning their status wasn't determined. Were they fully vaccinated? Were they not? And it's worth noting that in a lot of foreign countries, you can't tour if you're not vaccinated.
I think Saudi Arabia just put an edict out for that.
And parts of Europe. Notice some of these people, they're in the UK now. Was there issues there? We don't know. That's speculation, right?
Yeah.
And of course, WWE issuing a statement to New York Post that broke this big vaccination story. We wish them well in their future endeavors. That classic line. I got that line once.
Yeah,
Not
it's
from
famous.
I'm not saying I ever worked with WWE. You know, God bless anyone who did it. Mind you, for these people too, they had a run. You know, it sucks, but it's not all bad. You know, and
I mean,
there's some people that find their way back to the company. Shelton Benjamin's been back with the company for
yeah,
years.
true.
There's some of these people could be wrestling again for the company, or working as a producer, or doing other things, or come and have a cameo and stuff like that too.
I mean, Karrion Kross already had a vignette put out last night. You know, he's ready for whoever's going to sign him. Killer Kross is back, so he's going to be back. Like I said, with Trey Baxter now, of course, Blake Christian. If you didn't know who he was before, he wrestled for the Indies and also a brief stint with Impact Wrestling before he signed with NXT. Already signing with GCW. So a lot of these names already bouncing back, and once their their non-competes are up, then they can go elsewhere. It's just it's kind of sad that one of those options is now gone with Ring of Honor. It's an odd timing that the Ring of Honor.
I'm going to tell you, I think some of these people are going to end up wrestling in Ring of Honor or a Super Indie if Ring of Honor is still a show without contracts.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are going to hit the independent market very, very fast.
GCW is going to get stacked, and they're already stacked.
I'm at AAW, dude. I'm doing backstage interviews. I want to know who we're talking about today that I'm going to be cutting a promo with in a month or two.
If you got cut, get into Kev's DMs. If you got cut. Let's
pull up that calendar, baby.
Talk some business. Talk some business.
Yeah. Also, it's worth noting there have been reported changes. Once again, observer on this one. Reported changes to future WWE deals. What WWE is looking for contracted talents moving forward. We mentioned age being a factor. We now have a better idea of that. And we're also noting that what these contracts will be framed like. Age is a huge part of this decision. Of the 18 wrestlers let go, some people didn't feel they connected with a bigger, younger audience. They have audiences to connect with, but a younger audience is what WWE wants. The recommendations for female talents, new female talents, is 25 or younger. 25 or younger is what WWE is looking for. For men, they're looking for 30 or younger. So a lot of people would say, oh, it's ageist or maybe even sexist, depending on how you want to determine it. But as we see, WWE saying that they see youth as a thing, that this is how they're pivoting.
It's so funny because like back in the day, 90s, Attitude Era type of deals, people wouldn't even hit their stride till mid-30s. DDP didn't even get started till his mid-30s.
True, but I mean, this is a completely different environment, you know, and WWE is a different product than other wrestling organizations.
Mm-hmm.
It is characters first. The character is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand that, then you wouldn't be mad about these people being let go. You know what I mean? Like you attach yourself to these characters, so you wouldn't be upset about it.
Yeah, I know. There was a lot of people that, you looked at and saw future world champions on that list. And,
and there isn't anything to say that they can't do it again. All right. There's a lot of really talented people here again.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting here, moving forward for different people to be recruited into WWE through NXT, that a 60-day trial contract is being looked at to improve. So you get 60 days as a trial deal to improve. And this is except for top prospects. So there could be some major exceptions to this, but a lot of people that could be signed, and you're in the performance center and maybe they use you once or twice on NXT. We're going to see if you can hang.
Yeah.
Now we have several people outside of WWE going off on this. Britt Baker went off on it. Several other people spoke about it. Renee Young said all these people are going to be successful and there'll be some freedom in their lives. Alex Zane, who was released a few months ago, he'll be with AAW on November 26th, by the way. And he said, these people are going to do some great things. So there's some people taking a positive outlook on this. New opportunities. But
then you had like Jonah came out, basically kind of. I think if I can get that tweet up here real quick, he kind of threw him under the bus, just saying that basically saying that they are not that place. He said, "My brothers and sisters, that place is not the be all and end all. You will thrive and prosper because in the end, pro wrestling always wins."
That's a good take. It's a solid take right there. And it's also worth noting here, looking at all these different deals, it's just like, does this change the way that WWE is going to do business moving forward completely? A 60-day trial contract is completely a different way to do that.
Completely.
People like, Jordan Grace of Impact Wrestling went off just went off and said
she's not shy to go off on Twitter, by the way.
No, she said you shouldn't watch this. You guys shouldn't support this and all these different things. And she was quite upset about it, right? And there's been some people that speculate that maybe she has a friendship with B-Fab. All right, and that led to this. B-Fab got bit pretty hard here in this release. Just came up to SmackDown and got let go. It's just so harsh to feel that scenario here. But now you have this 60-day trial thing. You move to the Performance Center. You're there for 60 days. You don't know if you're staying. How do you sign a lease on an apartment?
Yeah,
how do you move your life there? Are they going to build a campus? Are they going to have like a dorm?
And Jordan Grace said the same thing. One of her tweets was, it's one thing not to renew someone's contract. It's another thing to have someone uproot their entire lives, move to an unfamiliar area, and release them from their contract mere months into it. That's effed up.
Yeah.
You know,
but what happens when you're in the NFL?
True. Yeah.
What happens when you're in Major League Baseball?
Mm-hmm.
And I get the emotions of it, but when I get a little objective, I'm just like, this is a harsh machine that you live in and you have to operate in it, and it has moving parts, and it will catch some people up and crush them. And I'm not saying that in a way that is disingenuous or inhumane.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump into questions here. We're covering everything here on what is going on with the WWE releases. These are the stories of the day. We do have some things to talk about with SmackDown. SmackDown will air tonight for you guys on demand into the weekend, depending on when you're watching it. What do they got with SmackDown before we jump into questions?
We got a little something from good old Millennial Meltzer, Sean Ross Sapp. Some stuff from Fightful Select. We're going to get Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and the Usos. What a surprise, right? Well, Roman wasn't on the show last week, so they could call it he's back to SmackDown because he took a whole week off. Mansoor and Cesaro, that's going to be a damn good match. Or no, they're teaming up. I apologize. Mansoor and Cesaro are taking on Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. Drew McIntyre is going to have an open challenge. I won't spoil it for you, but it's a good answer. Not a returning or debuting superstar, but a good answer. So good match there. There's a Hit Row segment. Go figure. Fire B-Fab, and they're gonna have to go out there and continue to work without their girl. There's a planned segment with Naomi and Shayna Baszler, and big. Very good match with Jimmy Uso and Xavier Woods also announced. But also the big story, interesting story here. Maybe they're doing this because they may have a meeting with Vince McMahon later. But Kyle O'Reilly versus Johnny Gargano in a dark match tonight. So both guys, contracts up in December. This almost seems like Adam Cole all over again. They brought him in to SmackDown for a dark match and meeting with Vince, and so I'm wondering if that's going to be the case here too. Very interesting to see an NXT match of two guys that are set to have their contracts expire very soon.
Here's a question here. Paul wants to know, Kevin, will WWE make a statement of some sort? They did. They said to the New York Post, we wish them well in their future endeavors.
That's what
that was their statement, and they put that out, and those are brief, Other people with different takes, chiming in, fire off your questions here. And Andrew Wilso saying, didn't Bailey knacker her knee? Quite the English way to approach that phrase.
Knacker.
And knacker her knee in the Performance Center. Yes, she did. They were doing rehearsals for WWE going back in front of live audiences, and she suffered a knee injury. The time frame for her to return is coming up soon if everything works well. She did put out some cryptic tweets that people are trying to, put the tea leaves together and see what they say, but we don't exactly know. I don't know when they would have her come back. It's completely up in the air. Surprise return at the Royal Rumble? Maybe something before then? I would assume that something happens before that.
Yeah, originally
can't have everything at the Royal Rumble.
Originally, it was supposed to be around WrestleMania, so looks like the timetable might have gotten bumped up then.
Here we go. Curtis wants to go, sup, Kev and Jeremy. How you feel about Bray Wyatt, aka The Fiend's cryptic tweets on Twitter today? Yes, he had some very, very wild tweets that people are really trying to decipher and go into. Do you have those? Do you have those in front of you, Jeremy?
Well, he's only tweeted once, and it
Yeah.
says this was right after this was in response to the releases. What do we do now? We wait for the right place. We wait for the right time. Then we turn Rome to ashes, groveling in the muck of avarice. I believe in you too.
Wow, what's going
that-
on there?
Is that a quote? He put that in quotes. Groveling in the muck of avarice.
Who's he quoting?
I don't know because I stole it from Jake Roberts. That's a Jake the Snake line.
Trust me.
He used the muck of
Trust
avarice.
Trust me. I opened for Jake Roberts one time at one of his first spoken word shows. I was doing stand up before him, and he's talking to me, and Jake's wonderful and pleasant. And he goes, "Oh, you play football in high school? He's like, you play sports?" And I was like, no, I didn't play football. I played soccer, international football. He's like, "Oh, full contact soccer?" And I was just like, "Yeah, it's a contact sport." He's like, "Oh, really? It is?" And I was like, "I've never watched it that much." Like he's like, it's kind of like saying that soccer is kind of like a girl sport, right? No, Jake, I don't know if that's the case, but it was a funny exchange with him, but it was enjoyable. Danny Barron with a question. Sup, Kev? How do you feel about WWE bringing back younger people like we asked for, like OVW was for Brock and Cena and Randy? So why should get mad about it if we ask WWE to push younger talents? Now you mad? I don't
know.
There's a lot going on there. So
I don't know anybody asking for younger talent.
There's a lot of fans that say you got to push new people, and then they push them. And they get
new people, but we're not talking about their ages here.
Oh, well, there are some younger fans that want younger talent on screen.
Yeah.
If you're 15 or 16, you're looking at guys in their 30s and 40s. All right, I want to see someone who's just out of college up there doing something. They're fans who want that, I'm not saying I'm one of them because I'm well out of college here. Ricky Glow saying, "Sup, Kev? How do you feel about Nia Jax? I thought she was hired because of The Rock. She's related to The Rock, right? She's in the NOI family, but now she got released. How does it feel now?
How does it feel
to make you? You're doing karaoke jams, aren't you, Tommy?
You're damn right.
Yeah, Nia, I had a run. It was very, very fun. I got to talk to Nia on the record a few years ago, and I found her to be somebody who truly enjoyed the lifestyle of the WWE. I think she truly, truly enjoyed it. She was unique. I would say that about Nia. She did not look like the other women in WWE.
Well, she's not like most
girls. She's not like most girls, right? like that is perfect for her. That is the perfect line for her. And I'm of the thought that I actually think she'll wrestle somewhere very, very soon.
Oh yeah, don't.
And everyone says, "Oh, some of these people are not going to go to AEW. Not all of them can. Some of them could. I want this person to go." I think she would get some. Woo! She would get some real hot heat walking into WWE, walking out of WWE into All Elite Wrestling. She would get some hot heat.
I'm sure she would shoot from the hip there if she went over there, or Impact Wrestling even too. But yeah, I said it earlier in the show here, as like she was almost one of those untouchables because of her relationship with The Rock, and so that was why a lot of people were shocked at her release here. I'll tell you what the best tweet was in regards to this all last night.
What
was Dax Harwood from FTR?
What did he say?
He said, "I wish WCW would have won."
That's so ridiculous.
That was the best tweet of last night.
That's a joke.
That was the best. No, I bet they probably got animosity towards WWE. I'm sure.
What, FTR?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God! All that money they made.
I'm sure.
All those championships that they have so much animosity. No, they just didn't want to do WWE stuff anymore. Yeah. It's a difference of opinion, guys. Yeah. I understand the resentment that people build up against WWE, but here is the fact of the matter. This is still the company that's going to present the Royal Rumble that you're going to watch in January and freak out when you're watching it. And they're going to present the WrestleMania, and they're going to present NXT, and they're going to present stuff that you like. And there's other stuff they're going to present that you don't like, and you don't have to watch it. You can there's a lot of people I know that just watch SmackDown. My nephew's 10. All right. When I talk wrestling to him, he does not know what's going on Raw. It's too late for him.
Yeah.
Friday night, SmackDown, if he doesn't have hockey or what he's doing, He's like, I'll watch it on Saturday, or I'll just watch on YouTube.
Oh yeah, when I was a
He just
kid,
watches on YouTube.
Well-
So I mean, like, I get where WWE feels they have to, make these changes.
When I was a kid,
I'm not saying I think this is the way to do it, though.
obviously I didn't have YouTube when I was a kid. Hell, we didn't have YouTube when I was in college. But when I was a kid, yeah, it was. I didn't watch Raw till college. No, take that back. Maybe high school, maybe late high school. But when I was a kid, yeah, all my pro wrestling was with WWE superstars on Sunday morning, and
Watched it after cartoons,
and then NWA with my grandma at 5:05. I'd stay with my grandma almost every weekend. Mom was a single mom, so she'd go out. When I was a kid, she'd be in her 20s, early 30s, and so I'd stay with grandma almost every weekend, and we would watch NWA 5:05 on TBS every Saturday. So that was my wrestling. I was more of an NWA guy and WCW guy before WWE because of that. I had more exposure to that as a kid. And then later on, as I grew, of course, as I get into college, that's when the Attitude Era hit. So
that's when you're watching all the badass stuff.
Oh, it's got that stuff's right up my wheelhouse when I'm 18, baby.
Tommy B texts in here, says, Kevin, can you get an interview with a WWE official to talk about what's going on with cuts?
Oh, PR will not do that.
No, it's not. I don't think anyone wants to go on the record at the moment.
PR will not allow that.
And they're gonna let things cool down and then promote what they got to promote and have wrestlers talk about stuff. I mean, I can tell you, I think we've had WWE talent on here. I've interviewed Drew McIntyre. We had Indy Hartwell on last week on Sportskeeda. So don't worry, guys. I think we'll still be talking to WWE people. I don't know if we'll be talking to them about this. I don't know if we'll go on the record about this.
Yeah.
Here we go. Eric goes, Kev, do you think AEW needs to release they wrestlers next to? How will people feel if AEW release Brian Cage? Well, Hobbs, they ain't using them, right? Well, here's the thing, Eric. AEW has released people. And I do think that culturally, online, people kind of give them the pass on it.
A lot of it,
and they don't. A lot of it's quiet.
A lot of it's quiet.
The
too.
people they release don't make a big deal about it or talk about it too much when they get released. They just
like
move on. It's also worth noting that AEW has a completely different contract structure. They have tiered deals. A lot of talent that are signed with them are signed to date deals with the company and are paid per date. They don't get what's called a downside guarantee, where they're locked into a certain amount of money and they only get paid based on how much they are used. A lot of people like that on Dark Elevation. There's a lot of independent talent they had that was signed like that. And then there's other people in different tiers of pay and benefits and all these different perks, what have you, right? Obviously, guys near the top making more money. Chris Jericho's, your John Moxley's, your CM Punk's, your Daniel Bryan's, Bryan Danielson.
So they're
making money. The EVPs, they're making money. What is the drop down like that? We just don't know the deals on that. There's a lot of things about AEW that are quite protected. As much as people talk about them being this open, super transparent company, there are a lot of things that are very protected about AEW's business because they are not a publicly traded company. There's a lot of things they don't have to report or don't have to publicly put out there, like a wellness policy or who is suspended for certain things and different stuff like that. They don't have that same type of business pressure from an investment court to do those type of things. Though there's been times when they've released people for misbehaving. Davey Havoc was cut from the company. He did some awful things. They've cut people for different stuff like that. And then we're very open about it because they saw their fan base react to it. So they're very fan driven by everything, right? How do I think AEW fans would react to names being released by the company? I think people would get released and you wouldn't hear about it. You just wouldn't hear about it. And you would just see someone kind of pop up at a show and you would just kind of figure things out. Because I think with All Elite, their thing is, if you're cool and you play nice, maybe we'll bring you back, maybe we'll be nice to you. And WWE does the same thing, and as much as you want to say Nia Jax, she said some things, I guess, that maybe someone at WWE wouldn't like hearing, right? But she just put it out there. She said, I liked being in the company. I'm devastated. This sucks. There's plenty of people that put out nice stuff like, hey, it sucks. I got let go by WWE. I had a great run. I'm going to tag Vince McMahon. Thank you for this, Vince. I had a great run. Thank you so much. I made some money, and you put me on TV, right? So depends on the individual and how they want to handle it. And I think then how they want to put it out there. And then you want to talk about how each company wants to handle it. All Elite Wrestling is a big company. And they have a lot of talent. But I also think, they're privately funded. They're funded in a completely different way. Their financials are a completely different structure than WWE.
Yeah. And it was so funny. We were talking about Brian Cage maybe being the
Jeremy,
first.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Can
Do you want me
people
to
hear?
reboot?
Can
Keep
people
talking,
hear
Jeremy.
me?
I'm going to reboot. Stay right there.
All right. Can people hear me though? Let's find out here. Hopefully you can hear me. But I was, talking about Brian Cage, and maybe he was the first guy that would jump from AEW over to WWE. And now you look, Brian Cage is 37. So now it's like, well, they cut all these guys that were not younger WWE wrestlers. So now you think Brian Cage is going to be that first guy that jumps over from AEW to WWE. And now it's like, well, that's probably not going to happen now. How Powerhouse Hobbs, I don't know how old he is. I think he's 33. He is 30. Okay, sorry. So he's 30. He could be a possibility, but I don't think they're really doing really too bad with Powerhouse Hobbs, to be honest. I think they've done a pretty good job with him. I mean, they had a big featured match with him and CM Punk. So, but Brian Cage is probably a guy that should have been pushed a little better. But yeah, Kev, like I said, thought maybe Brian Cage was going to make that jump, and he's 37. So that probably now is not going to happen, is it?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's interesting.
There's going to be exceptions made, but I mean, if
True.
the general sentiment is it's an age movement from the bottom up in WWE,
yeah,
there's still people at the top who aren't going to be going anywhere.
There's going to be exceptions for people that are big stars, but is Brian Cage going to be a big enough star to be that exception?
Worth noting there. Sorry about that audio issue. Didn't know what happened there.
Yeah, I was trying to answer you, and you kept going, so I was wondering if you lost my audio there.
Could you guys, if you guys are watching, could you both hear us? I didn't know what the issue was because
it looks like Craig in the chat said he could hear me. So
okay, all right. So I went out for a considerable amount of time there, just talking and rambling.
No, I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me.
Alex Radford says, "Hey Kev, if WWE or AEW wants to make a Jake the Snake biopic, I want Kev to play Jake the Snake. That would be awesome." Well, I have to grow 4 more inches to do.
Maybe for a radio show.
Oh, it was a radio play?
No, yeah. If it's a radio play, because you look nothing like Jake Roberts.
If it's a radio play, you just get Jake to play himself. You don't need me. Why would you need me in there?
Because you look nothing like Jake Roberts.
No, I don't. Thank you, though. I guess. Thank you for getting me a sweet acting gig.
You could do a Jake Roberts podcast.
Yeah. I appreciate it here. A lot of people with different takes here. I'm trying to get to the next question here, so we roll past him here. Eli has one. Sup, Kevin Jeremy. If I was Impact, I will get Kross and Keith Lee in there, and I will pair them with Moose and Morrissey. Oh, here we go. You're breaking the Q&A rule number 1. What is rule number 1 of our Q&A Freestyle Friday? It's freestyle. It's not fantasy booking Friday. But Eli will talk about this, though. You want to see them back on television. Impact had a nasty break, though, with Killer Kross, Karrion Kross. And he was under contract with them for months and months and months before they eventually let him go because they knew he was trying to go to WWE, and they tried to ice the deal with him. And I can tell you, I was at the second All Out, and Kross was there, and that was before he signed with WWE. He was there checking the show out while contracted and not performing with Impact. So I get it. But also Impact, I just think they're like, hey, what else are you going to do? Where else are you going to go? You want to be on TV?
Triple H should just leave, create his own promotion, and add another competition to the battle.
What if Triple H does another Samoa Joe move and he comes in and like sweeps in and gets one of these guys and brings them back in NXT? I don't think it's going to happen now that there's a big youth movement there, though.
No. Yeah, I mean, how old is Lee? I mean, Kross is 37. Lee's like 36, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kind of interesting, though.
It's completely NXT is even more of a youth movement than the main roster. So,
people yelling, "Watch out! Watch out!" Thank you so much, Tyrone Randall. Do you think Ryback will return to WWE? of all the people that could or could not return to WWE, I will say that Ryback is the least likely to do it. Because in terms of people leaving WWE and they say, F this company and they suck and they don't know what's like, Ryback has made almost a little cottage industry of shizitten on WWE and the name WWE and the brand name, and saying everything that he possibly can bad about it.
Name the major companies he's worked for since WWE.
None.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, he's not going to work anywhere. I don't think anybody's clamoring to sign him.
James Barclay, sweet profile picture of you, James. You're golfing. Gotta get your links in before the end of the season here. Yeah. Any news on the non-injury medical issue with AJ Styles? That is the widely reported thing, is he is out of action with a non-medical injury. Now, there are people I've heard immediately. I'm going to cut the speculation because that becomes the loudest thing, right? People? Can you just tell me he got COVID? Right? No, I can't tell you he got COVID because he's not saying it. It isn't public information. We don't know. We don't know any information about it. I'm not going to tell you something when I don't know the answer to it because I think that's just like it gets people out there spreading the wrong stuff. But and I always like to preface, hey, speculation here before we say it. We have to do it, especially with these releases. Everyone has their idea what happened here.
You know what happens when you assume?
You make
chicken salad into chicken.
Oh, yes, yeah. Speaking of Ryback, Tommy B says Ryback's podcast is boring.
Hey, got one. Here we go.
James Espanto Fernando. Guy. James, where you been, buddy?
Yeah, I haven't seen James in a while.
Keith Lee would be great in MLW. Keith Lee versus Jacob Fatu, anyone? Now, here's the thing. It's not fantasy booking. That's you saying, could he go here? Yeah. Would this be cool?
Man, yes. MLW and Impact need to get some TV deals, man. They can make some.
Noting MLW is on Vice. You know, they have a TV deal. They're on Vice television.
It's better than beIN Sports, but not by much.
Okay, so they're on television, right? And MLW's made some cuts recently.
Yeah,
you know?
they did.
It's worth noting. I just don't think all these people are going to go to WWE or AEW. Just the time and space isn't there.
That's why it's such a crap deal that Ring of Honor is doing what they're doing. Because I mean, man, they could have loaded up on some of these people easily.
Sup, Kevin and Jeremy? Question.
Sup?
Here we go. He phrased it right though. He didn't phrase it in the fantasy booking style.
And it's in the form of a question.
He went hypothetical, so I'll give it to him. Sup, Kevin and Jeremy. I like how everyone just says our names. Thank you so much. If I was Tony Khan, would you? People got to work on their grammar, guys. If you was Tony Khan, would you?
I is Tony Khan.
Would you hire Eva Marie to be a valet?
I would hire Eva Marie to be on Legion of Raw with Chris Featherstone and Vince Russo. If you watch that show, that makes complete sense to you.
That's our big push now.
That would yes, and they were talking. Yes, they should get Eva Marie on with Russo.
Sportskeeda has secured the talents.
They need to get on the phone with her.
Yeah, and it's certainly worth talking about here. Other people just sounding off here saying it's awful. How could they do this? College Slam. We'll do this question here before we sign off.
Yeah.
College Slam wants to know, when do you think we will get CM Punk versus MJF? Of course, CM Punk coming to AEW a few months ago, the biggest jump that we've seen in a long time. His return from his 7-year hiatus away from pro wrestling in general. Obviously, he left WWE on some nasty circumstances, legal fights, all those different things. Now he's in AEW, and he's been emphatic in saying that the entire sense of his purpose there is to remind people he loves wrestling. He never not loved it, but to give back to the business that gave something to him. He's made allusions that, the way a guy like an Eddie Guerrero made me feel coming up, I want to do that for somebody else. Even though he's beaten a lot of people. He's beaten a lot of younger talent here.
Well, he's 5-0 right now.
5-0.
But I'll tell you what, if I'm booking AEW or predicting my booking in AEW, which I do a pretty damn good job of, I'm going to say CM Punk beats Eddie Kingston, MJF beats Darby Allin, And MJF may be the first loss on CM Punk's AEW record on his way to challenging Hangman Adam Page for the title.
2 young studs, huh? Go with the 2 young bucks there.
I tell you what, though, man, I watched Dynamite last night because I was sick. I was sick most of this week, but so I caught up on Dynamite last night, and I tell you what, man, MJF put it brilliantly, man. You got the 4 pillars right there. You got him, you got Darby, you got Sammy, and you got Jungle Boy. Those are your 4 pillars of AEW, and I just love how he put that. I think Darby started that whole thing in an interview one time, but you know, I think that's how it's going to play out. I think MJF gives Punk his first loss, but man, that promo battle is going to be fun whenever that happens.
Thank you guys so much for checking out a Freestyle Friday edition of us. We go a little bit longer on the top story on Fridays. If you haven't done already, go ahead, as Mr. James Esponto says, download the Sportskeeda app. We also have the SK Wrestling app as well, specific. It's available on Google Play, Apple. If you haven't done already, go ahead and subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling on the YouTubes, all right? On the Facebooks. Thank you guys so much for the more than 7 million people who watched me talk about wrestlers getting their masks taken off. Now, to those diehards are with me, where I talk a lot longer than you, bring some people to the party, all right? Bring some people to the wrestling party on the old virtual couch.
Yeah.
With these 2 beards, and then another beard when Jose's here, and then that thing that Rick has in his face that he grows from time to time. All right, you can join us. Later on tonight, Dutch Mantel will be on right after SmackDown. We'll have an exciting edition of Rampage and SmackDown Review, Smack Talk, with the legendary Dutch Mantel. Of course, you knew him in WWE. Zeb Coulter, certified Hall of Famer. He's going to get his ring at some point. Dutch for the Hall of Fame. We should do a campaign.
Dutch has been around. Dutch got some stories. He's been around.
Yeah, absolutely. He deserves it here. If you haven't done it already, go ahead and subscribe to us as well on the Spotify and the Apple. We have a podcast charting in multiple countries. Thank you to our fans in the Philippines, making us the number 3 sports podcast in all of the Philippines.
Kev's going to be mayor of Manila pretty soon.
Oh, God. If I was the mayor of Manila, I wouldn't be here right now. What are you talking about? I'm big in Manila, baby. I got my Manila monies. All right. Thank you guys so much for checking out the show. Remember, when watching wrestling, you must do the most important thing that you possibly can do while watching wrestling. And what is that?
That is enjoy wrestling. Yeah.
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 Let me talk to you.
Talk to him.
It's Friday.